Hey guys, Dan from Conversion Giant here, and today's video is for anybody with a brand new website who's trying to get started with SEO and get that site ranking in Google organic search results. We have some tips we think are really going to help you out because let's face it, getting a brand new site ranking on Google is really hard. Sometimes it feels like climbing a mountain. Except there are hundreds of other people climbing the same mountain and pulling you down and fighting over footholds. And then the people at the top of the mountain have already set up camp and now they're building walls to keep anybody else from getting to the top of the mountain. And sometimes the mountain changes for seemingly no reason. And you wake up one morning and suddenly you're back down at the bottom of the mountain. And then you have to figure out why you ended up back down at the bottom of the mountain. And then there's fewer spots at the top of the mountain because the mountain's decided it wants to sell more ads. And let's get to the tips. So for a website to rank well on Google, first it has to actually work. And that means a couple different things. First of all, there's the user side of things. That's when we're getting into things like page performance, core web vitals, things we've talked about a lot on this channel. So I'm not going to go into it again here. We'll be sure to post links to our other videos and articles that go in depth on that subject in the description. But just remember, focus on your core web vitals and PageSpeed Insights is your friend. That's the user side. There's also the Google side of things, technically. And that means, is Google able to properly crawl and index your site? Use a tool like Screaming Frog to run some crawls on your site to look for things like broken links or redirect loops that can cause problems for Google. And don't forget about Google Search Console. This is a great place to get data directly from Google about how it views your site and any problems it's having in accessing it or indexing it. So speaking of Google Search Console, make sure that's set up correctly, but also don't forget to make sure analytics tracking is set up correctly too. Because there's nothing worse than launching your website only to find that it hasn't actually been collecting data. So take care of that before the site actually launches. Before you can actually start planning a keyword strategy, you first have to consider your organic landscape. In other words, what is actually happening in the organic space that you hope to break into? For example, competitors. Do you know who you will be competing with for placement? You may think you do, but you might be surprised. There might be sites there that you've never even heard of, and sites that you thought would be competitors actually aren't. And then what about the search results pages themselves? Do you know what actually shows up when you do a search for some of your keywords? Is there a local pack, a featured snippet, a people also ask box? How far down are the actual organic results? How much of the space is taken up by ads? Are the results even relevant to your business? This is information that is vitally important before you can make a keyword strategy, because without it, you may end up wasting time on keywords that either aren't relevant to your site or are far more difficult to obtain than you initially thought. It's important to remember that because your site is brand new, it doesn't have any authority, and it's not going to have any for a while. That means when you're creating a keyword strategy, you're gonna have to start small. You're not going to be able to rank for high volume, very highly competitive keywords right out of the gate. Start smaller. For example, long tail keywords. These are longer searches that are much more specific and therefore easier to rank for. For example, can you think of a question that people often ask about your business or your industry? Try punching it into Google and see what comes up. If there's not a lot of good information about it, consider creating content that answers that question. Also, when you're doing this, don't forget that Google's autocomplete feature and also the people also ask box can be very useful for finding more long tail keywords that you could try to create content for. Also, consider more high intent searches. These are things like searches for very specific products or very specific questions about a product, like sizing information or shipping information. These keywords may be much less competitive than more general keywords and therefore easier to rank for. And finally, use a tool like SEMrush or Ahrefs that gives keywords a difficulty score and look for keywords that are relevant to you that have low difficulty scores, as those are going to be much more obtainable for you early on. A good site structure is important for usability, but it's also very important for SEO. Your site structure is generally the roadmap that Google will follow as it crawls your site. It will usually start at the top and work its way down. So a good site structure provides it a clear roadmap. Now, most sites are generally structured the same way. Usually you'll have the home page, and then you'll have your top level category pages, and then those will be broken out into subcategories. And this structure is established in a couple different places. First of all, in your URL structure. Let's say I have a site that sells pet supplies. My URL might be something like danspetsupplies.com/cats/cat trees. The cats is a top level category page, and the cat trees is a subcategory. This is also established by your site's main navigation. In fact, most of the time, your main navigation will be a direct reflection of your hierarchy, starting with those top level categories and then working its way down. This also helps set up your site's internal linking structure, which is also very important for SEO. Now, when optimizing these pages, consider that top level pages are generally going to be optimized for your higher level, general top of funnel keywords, and then they'll get more specific as you work your way down. In the previous example, cat supplies, the cats page might be pet supplies for cats, and then the lower level one might be cat trees for cats, or something a little more specific. So just keep that in mind when you are planning and implementing your site's hierarchy. The content you create for your site is so much more than just a ranking signal. Yes, it is a ranking signal, but it's also a tool that you can use for link building. And that is great news, because as a new site with zero authority, you desperately need links. This site needs to build authority, and links are the best way to do it. Creating an on-site blog is a great way for you to not only regularly add new content to your site to rank with, but also a great way to encourage other sites to link back to you. So when you're creating content, consider that value. What value can you offer other sites as far as a link with your content? And also be sure to include your blog content as part of your link outreach. By the way, we did a video and an article on this, on the entire subject of link building, so be sure to check that out in the description, because that'll go into a lot of detail of some great link building tips that you can use to build up your site's authority. But remember, building up authority takes time. So be patient. It is going to be a long process, but if you keep it up, it will be worth it. All right, there you go. Those are our 5 tips for new sites that are trying to get their organic rankings off the ground. I really hope these helped you out. If they do, please be sure to give this video a like. You can leave a comment if you want to give some feedback. Be sure to subscribe to Conversion Giant for more great marketing content every week. My name is Dan Cromar, wishing you happy rankings until we meet again.